We're joined now by Suhas Subramanyam, a Democratic member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and he sits on the House Oversight Committee. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
When it comes to Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, what questions does the latest set of documents raise?
Well, it further confirms what we already knew, which is that Andrew clearly had a very close relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, who's also a convicted sex trafficker and sex offender, as well as, of course, Jeffrey Epstein. And, we had seen documents before linking him with them. But, in these documents, it's very clear that he was very close, if not best friends, with Maxwell and perhaps also very close with Jeffrey Epstein. So, we have a lot more questions. We want him to come talk to our committee and tell us what he knows. He clearly had an understanding of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise, and so that's valuable information to us.
So let's explore that a little bit more deeply. It's one thing to hold Americans accountable, for you and your government to hold Americans accountable. What exactly, why do you want Andrew to come to the U.S. and testify?
Well, a lot of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein were Americans, or young, underage American girls who were exploited, who were trafficked. And so we want information from anyone, it's not just Andrew, but anyone else around the world, about how they were trafficked, how the Epstein and Maxwell were able to get away with these crimes, and how we can prevent that from happening in the future. And so that's why we're looking for maximum transparency and accountability. And part of that is talking to everyone, regardless of their political party or how powerful they are. So whether it's Bill Clinton or it's Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, we want to talk to everybody.
What's the likelihood, do you think, that Andrew would come to the U.S. and testify?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that's why we're asking, and I know there's public pressure now on him to come and answer questions. We will do it under sort of the conditions he agrees to. We're very flexible in that regard. But certainly the one thing I would want is for him to do so under some form of penalty of perjury or under oath, because he has lied in the past. We've now seen documents that confirmed he has lied in several instances. And so we want him to come forward and be truthful with whatever information he does give us.
You've called for justice for these survivors. What does justice look like?
It's unfortunate, but in many cases, we have the statute of limitations, which prevents prosecution after a certain period of time has passed after the crime has happened. But, even people losing their titles, losing their jobs, losing their board positions because of their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, I think many of the survivors have told me that in and of itself is important to them, because they want some form of accountability for committing these crimes and being a party to these crimes in any sort of way.
Sometimes, maybe often in the United States, public issues fall very clearly on partisan lines. This one, I think the lines have become a little blurred. And so every time you go public on this issue in the United States, what kind of reaction do you get?
We do get a range of reactions. I'll say a lot of people, though, followed what was going on with Epstein. They felt like they couldn't trust law enforcement or trust their government anymore, because they felt like if someone rich and powerful like Epstein committed a heinous crime, that they would get away with it because they had powerful connections, right? And so something that I've wanted to do since being in Congress is change that perception and go after anyone, no matter how powerful or rich they are. And I think this sends a message to the American people and to people around the world that, we will hold people accountable regardless of their titles or positions or money.
Do you feel like you're moving towards that goal?
I think so. I mean, we've come a long way. A lot of people said we wouldn't be able to get any files from the Trump administration. A lot of people said that we wouldn't get this far. I think the victims will even tell you how, encouraged they are that people are not letting this go and are still making this an issue. And the victims have said that they've been burnt over and over again, that they've given them information many, many times. They've told their stories many times, and no one listened, or people listened and then they covered up the stories or covered up the crimes. And so we want this to be different, and we want this to be different not just for the victims, but for future women and children who are exploited. We don't want this to happen anymore.
Suhas Subramanyam is a Democratic member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.